Balance, Boundaries, and the Path to a Healthy Life, number 1680, the 10th of June 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category, Healthy Life. Preface for readers: eat more protein and vegetables. Eat less red meat and processed food. Reduce portions if overweight. Eating a little less will not hurt you. Overeating for years will. Exercise daily. Walk at least 7,000 to 8,000 steps. Drink 85 to 100 ounces to 0.5 to 3.0 liters of water daily. Sleep 6 to 7 hours each night. Manage stress. Avoid draining people and unnecessary conflicts. Put your health first. Wealth, fame, and power mean little without health and life. Introduction. After many decades of studying the harder subjects, such as mathematics, physics, engineering, computer science, and artificial intelligence, in addition to my personal interests in literature, history, and philosophy, I gradually shifted my attention toward the softer subjects, including psychology, human behavior, personality disorders, internal medicine, several major life-threatening diseases, and elementary neuroscience. In addition to these academic pursuits, I continuously integrated what I learned with my own life experiences, struggles, failures, successes, and serious illnesses. Over time, this combination of formal learning and lived experience allowed me to see the larger picture of my own life more clearly, rather than viewing individual events as isolated incidents. I began to recognize recurrent patterns and underlying principles that connected them. After many years of observation, reflection, and continuous learning, I eventually arrived at a simple conclusion: the foundation of physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, and even a meaningful life is not found in any single domain of knowledge, a few techniques, certain magic medications, or socially defined achievements. It begins with understanding the balance of life, recognizing boundaries in life activities, and making thoughtful choices about where to invest my limited time, energy, and attention. Some lessons I have learned: the foundation of physical health, mental health, and emotional well-being is not any single diet, exercise program, a good night's sleep, magic medication, psychotherapy session, doctor visit, or particular philosophy of life. Rather, the foundation is balance, supported by the knowledge and wisdom accumulated through continuous learning and life experience. Many people ask what the secret to longevity is. Others ask what produces happiness, success, wealth, fame, or power. In my opinion, these questions begin at the wrong end of the journey because they focus on outcomes rather than causes and processes. Longevity, happiness, money, fame, power, and success are measuring stations along the journey of life. Important milestones are semi-final destinations, but never the true starting point. They are the natural consequences of balanced priorities, continuous learning, dedicated effort, thoughtful decisions, and consistent daily actions. Before pursuing any of these outcomes, we should first understand how to establish the right priorities and invest our limited time, energy, and attention wisely. The first step is to balance the priorities of life. Many people have no clear priorities at all. Others want everything at the same time: wealth, fame, power, perfect health, career achievement, family success, social recognition, and unlimited personal freedom. There is nothing wrong with having many dreams, but reality places limits on every human being. Time is limited, energy is limited, money is limited, intellectual ability is limited, physical strength is limited, even life itself is limited. Therefore, wisdom is not simply deciding what we want. Wisdom is deciding what deserves our limited resources. In my experience, health should occupy a sufficiently high priority because without health, the value of money, fame, and power eventually diminishes. The life of Steve Jobs serves as a powerful reminder that even extraordinary success, wealth, and influence cannot fully compensate for the loss of health. Health is not merely another goal competing with money, fame, or power. It is the foundation upon which those achievements derive their true value. It determines whether they can be fully enjoyed, meaningfully sustained, and ultimately appreciated. Without health, even the greatest accomplishments may lose much of their significance. Therefore, investing in health is not a sacrifice of success, it is an investment in the very foundation that makes success worthwhile. Balance does not mean giving everything equal attention. It means giving everything the appropriate amount of attention. The same principle applies to lifestyle. Many discussions about health treat all lifestyle factors as equally important, I do not believe that is necessarily true. Nutrition may deserve the highest priority because it directly affects metabolism and physiology every day. Exercise follows closely because movement influences cardiovascular health, muscle preservation, and metabolic control. Sleep and stress management remain extremely important, but they may function more as supporting systems than as primary drivers. The exact ranking may differ among individuals, but the important point is that healthy living is itself a balanced system. Every component matters, although not necessarily to the same degree. When life priorities are balanced and healthy lifestyle practices are consistently maintained, better health becomes the natural consequence. Once health improves, the next step becomes relatively straightforward. Better physiological function generally reduces the probability of major diseases such as stroke, heart disease, kidney failure, and other life-threatening conditions, including certain cancers. This relationship is more linear than the first part of the process. Finally, after many years, reduced disease risk may lead to longevity together with a higher quality of life. Interestingly, the last outcome should never become the obsession. Longevity and happiness cannot be directly pursued. They are earned indirectly through thousands of balanced decisions accumulated over decades. Looking back at my own career, many observers assumed that I was pursuing money, fame, or power. People judged the visible outcomes without understanding the underlying motivations. The reality was quite different. I never wanted to become wealthy simply for the purpose of accumulating money. I have also intentionally avoided unnecessary fame or publicity throughout much of my life. What I have always valued is influence rather than control. This distinction is subtle but fundamental. The power to control, often associated with politicians, bankers, or those in positions of authority, comes from titles, wealth, office, or institutional power. It depends largely on the ability to direct or compel other people. The power to influence, often exemplified by teachers, researchers, mentors, or thoughtful leaders, comes from ideas, knowledge, experience, personal example, credibility, and trust. People choose to follow not because they are forced to, but because they believe in the value of what is being shared. One exercises authority over others, the other inspires others. One relies on external power, the other relies on internal conviction. I have always preferred the second type because influence, earned through knowledge and example, often outlasts authority granted by position. The same philosophy also governs how I approach interpersonal relationships. Throughout life I have encountered individuals whose behavior appears unhealthy or emotionally difficult. Perhaps their experiences during childhood shaped them, perhaps illness shaped them, perhaps trauma shaped them, perhaps personality shaped them. But understanding every person's background is neither my responsibility nor my mission, although it was part of my personal curiosity during a specific phase of my life. Today, I recognize that curiosity alone does not create responsibility, nor does it obligate me to solve problems that lie beyond my ability or life purpose. More importantly, I often lack the emotional capacity to help an unlimited number of people who may need help. My emotional energy, like my time and resources, is finite. Respecting another human being does not require unlimited engagement. If a relationship consistently consumes emotional energy without creating mutual benefit, quietly stepping away may be the healthiest choice for both sides. There is no need to point out each other's strengths or weaknesses. There is no need for insults or hurtful words. There is no need for arguments or endless debates. There is no need to prove who is right or wrong. Sometimes the smartest response is simply a polite and quiet exit from the relationship, preserving both mutual respect and one's own emotional well-being. My charity program, similarly, I have devoted significant effort toward helping underprivileged children obtain an education. I deeply believe that education changes lives. Nevertheless, compassion does not imply unlimited responsibility. I cannot save every poor child. I cannot solve every social problem. I cannot heal every emotional disorder. I cannot rescue every struggling family. These limitations are not failures. They are realities. Recognizing those realities leads to one of the most important concepts I have learned: boundaries. Every person has boundaries. Some are imposed by nature. Some arise from family circumstances. Some are imposed by health. Some are limited by knowledge. Some are constrained by time. Some are defined by emotional capacity. Healthy people understand where those boundaries exist. Without boundaries, compassion becomes exhaustion. Without boundaries, responsibility becomes guilt. Without boundaries, ambition becomes obsession. Without boundaries, relationships become unhealthy dependence. Knowing one's boundaries is therefore not selfishness, it is wisdom. In fact, balance and boundaries are inseparable concepts. Balance determines where my limited resources should be invested. Boundaries determine where my responsibility ends. Together, they protect both my physical health and my emotional health. Many people spend enormous effort trying to understand everyone around them or trying to solve every conflict they encounter. I no longer believe this is necessary. Every individual deserves basic respect and human dignity. But no individual is obligated to sacrifice his or her own health while attempting to fix problems that lie beyond personal ability or responsibility. This philosophy also explains why, after supporting more than 10,000 underprivileged children and pursuing higher education, I ceased personal contact with all of them after they graduated from college. It was never because I did not care. Rather, it was a conscious boundary and a form of self-protection. If I attempted to remain personally involved in thousands of lives, I would eventually lose the time, emotional capacity, and energy needed to continue my own work and to help others in meaningful ways. To continue giving, I must also survive. Protecting my own physical, mental, and emotional well-being is therefore not an act of selfishness but a necessary condition for sustaining my lifelong mission. As I look back over my own life, I realize that many of the decisions that proved most valuable were not the result of intelligence alone. They were the result of learning where to stop, where to say no, where to conserve energy, and where to focus attention. Ultimately, longevity and a high quality of life are not isolated goals. They are the downstream consequences of thousands of balanced choices made over many years. Balance guides priorities. Priorities shape lifestyle. Lifestyle shapes health. Health reduces disease risk. And reduced disease risk makes longevity with quality of life more likely. At the center of this entire process lies one simple but powerful realization. Know your priorities. Know your boundaries. Respect the boundaries of others. Live with balance. Everything else then follows naturally. Epilogue. In the world of knowledge, I am still a student, not a teacher. The duty of a scientist is not to prove a theory but to face the truth, tell the truth, and allow the data to guide the journey. When the data and my expectations disagree, I change my expectations, not the data. This epilogue returns to an intellectual humility. Even after a lifetime of learning, I remain a student. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.